Hi, I'm Liz Larson.
And I'm Bill McKenna. We're the hosts of the New Life Perspectives radio show.
We're also the creators of the Cognomovement system, where we help you rewire your nervous system so you can rewire your reality.
Join us each week for great conversations, amazing guests, and cutting-edge information on health, consciousness, and the keys to transformation.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show and Happy New Year. It is now 2025. Can anyone actually believe it? I know I can't. So I'm here flying solo today. Bill McKenna will be back with us next week, but I have a really, really special guest, one that is so dear to our hearts. And it's one of our Cognomovement practitioners, Rita Stewart. Rita Stewart is from Australia. She's not just a Cognomovement practitioner. She's a past life regressionist and an ISIS healer, which I need to know more about. Hey, Rita, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Liz. Lovely to be here.
Tell everybody where in Australia you are.
I live in a place called Albany, which is about 5 hours south of Perth, which most people know is the capital of Western Australia. So it's the opposite of Sydney and Melbourne, which most people seem to know.
Okay, so you're in the West Australia area?
Yeah, we're probably in line with, if you go up towards Hong Kong, we're in line with that sort of time frame.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So Rita, let's start here because this is new information for me. Rita just told me that she is also an ISIS healer. Tell everybody what that means.
ISIS works a lot with energy through the body. You just lay people on the table and you channel ISIS down and you just do like a Reiki healing. But I was initiated in the Temple of the King's Chamber by Elizabeth Jennison, who has now passed. So I've done quite a few different courses in that, which works with the magic of Isis. As you know, Isis put Horus all back together. So it's all about, you know, your imagination, I suppose. So it works well with past life regression as well.
Super interesting. It never occurred to me that the ISIS character is a healer, but that's true. She put him all back together. So that's healing, right? That's amazing. Super interesting.
And that's a bit like what Cognitive does. Cognitive puts parts back together.
It is true. Cognomovement really does that, puts parts back together, removes some parts.
Yes.
Puts them back together, right? So tell everybody about how you came to become a Cognomovement practitioner. I think the thing that is the most interesting about all of our practitioners is all the amazing other certificates they already have. People who become our practitioners usually have this long list of education and foundational information. And then they come to this work. So what drew you to it? How did you find yourself here?
I listened to an interview you did with Brian Scott, and that's what got me into cognitive work. I have dabbled in a lot of modalities before, and this one just seemed to have a pull with me. I guess where I come from is my skills are my life journey. I would never have thought I'd be a healer. I've been in business with my husband for most of my all my married life. So, unfortunately, he was taken pretty ill very quickly, and we just sold our business. So, and that was a big pathway to go down. I went through quite a lot of trauma, sadness. It's like a death really, but he's still here. So it's been quite a journey to work through that. And if I hadn't done the self-development work that I've done, I would not be here. I can guarantee you that one, because it's all these tools that actually help you to get through the dark sides of life.
It's true because some of those things, especially like what happened with your husband, in the moment, they do seem really not overcomable. They're the impossible thing. And without some way to handle it, it can destroy a person, don't you think?
Oh, totally, totally. I remember crying my eyes out because I was in Perth while he was in hospital and he had several clove blues. So, I was lonely. I rang up my son one day and he said, "Well, Mum, you're strong, you'll get through it." But that wasn't what I wanted to hear, was it? So until you walk in someone's shoes, you really can't understand what they go through. And that's where I think my journey has taken me, why it's taken me where I've gone.
Yeah. Do you think it is just a strength of character? Do you feel like you just weren't willing to give up? Or did it just seem like the only thing to do is keep going?
I had to keep going. I had to focus on myself in that regard because I had a business that was still running, and my husband, and I've got four children, and then my parents. So I do have probably a builder of character of strength through the years. I remember quite a few of my friends saying, "God, have you been hit by a bus?" Because you just seem to get one thing after another. And I guess I just take it in my stride. But I think since I've done cognitive work, it's ironed a lot of that out.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing when you're faced with something massive like you were faced with. And it wasn't just your husband. You had a lot of other things going on. You take care of an elderly father, you have kids, but I think that's a part of it. When we're faced with something like this and we realize that there's all kinds of other people that still rely on us, it's not like we can just check out. I guess that's a choice, right? But you didn't. You just kept going and you looked for a way to change. So, um, tell us what you started to do when you found Cognomovement. What started to change for you? What was the realization that said, "Hey, I think this might be something I can use to change how I'm feeling about my life"?
I just think it was probably around my father's situation and working. I've got a daughter and three sons. My daughter's got a autistic child. That was another reason why I found that cognitive had a bit of a pull because of that situation. Mind you, I'm not drawn so much in that area to work with as much as helping people that want to help themselves in a personal development way, because a lot of people have issues around things that they don't see the correlation with.
Yeah.
I worked with a girl on Saturday and I actually did a bit of past life with the cognitive work. And, in this life, she's on her own. And when she went into a past life, not just one, two, she had single lives.
Oh,
So this is the pattern that something happens. And with the past life regression, it's not to go into the fear, it's not to go into the trauma of it, it's actually to get the positive learnings.
yeah,
And that's what propels you forward. And that's another thing with cognitive is when you get the positive learnings, you can map it in.
yeah.
So
But
change happens.
yeah, I think that's the hard part for so many people. When you're down in it, when it feels so bad, there's that physical pain in the body, you're suffering. It seems nearly impossible for that to change, for there to ever be a time when you feel different. So, did you find that that was the difference with Cogno movement, is that you could change that feeling in the body and then it would change how you see the events?
Yeah, I did. I wish I had it when I was really going through my really tough time with my husband, but that's times goes on. But I guess I feel the big change that cognitive work with was around my father's situation, where I'm the eldest child of the family. So I've taken a hell of a lot of responsibility on, and I'm a very nervous person in some ways. I've had a lot of fears, a lot of self-doubts. That's also been very, with cognitive, I've built up a lot more confidence in my own ability. I would never have thought I'd be here. I can guarantee you that. But with my dad's situation, my sister and her husband, and they've got a mentally ill child, actually have moved over to look after my dad. So, and that's the magic. I mean, we go through the physical mind and to believe that we know how the answers are. But when you're doing the cognitive work, things come unfolded that you could not imagine. So that's why I love doing cognitive work, because I don't have to confront it as much. The magic happens when you do the work on yourself, and then other people change without you even having to do a thing on the outer world.
That is the magic. So for everybody listening, I know that sounds really, really strange, but it is a phenomenon that happens when you're very, very upset about something. So Rita's talking about a situation with her dad and her family and being a caregiver that really, really bothered her. Was very upsetting. But when you're in that state of being upset, the thing that happens is you actually hold that condition in place. So by releasing that, by not feeling that way anymore, by being able to actually change the nervous system to a state where it's like, well, okay, whatever, then miraculously, that situation is no longer held in place anymore. It changes, but literally reality shifts. And that's what happened to you. I remember you telling us about that. You're like, you're never going to believe this, how things changed.
I can't believe it myself. I'm still pinching myself. So, and my daughter's situation has changed too, because, my daughter is a single mother, and I was the first one to see her child. And we have a very strong bond because of that reason. And the partner, the guy, didn't want nothing to do with any of them. So, she virtually on her own. So she relied on me like a codependent. And in lots of ways, I gave that codependence a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And then when I started working with the cognitive work, I have learned to pull back, and I was actually enabling her. So, I see that now. And, even though she doesn't do the cognitive work because I'm too close to her, she still feels the effect of what I do. And that's the end result of what happens with this work.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible too. Well, let's take our first quick break. And when we come back, let's dive into that a little bit more, because I'm sure people are wondering, like, how do you work on yourself and change someone else? So let's hear from the good folks at the UK Health Radio, and we'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. We're here with Rita Stewart, which is one of our dear friends and one of our dear practitioners in Australia. And we're talking about, how when you change yourself, it changes other people around you. And there's something that you said, Rita. I asked you, what message would you want people to have? And you said, it's an inside job. It's an inside job. And that your inside mirrors and reflects your reality on the outside. So let's talk about that. Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel like it's an inside job, and what's on your inside reflects what your reality is?
Well, I can tell you now, I drawed in a lot of criticism. That was my childhood criticism. I had a very dominating father-in-law who was very critical. And then when we used to be dairy farmers, and then we went into a caravan park, which you call trailer parks in the state. and I drawed in criticism from clients and stuff like that. So, that was my big lesson to realize I was the inner critic and I drawed it in. As soon as I started working on myself to release the criticism, and I mean, it's still going on to this day. I mean, I think a lot of us still have quite high judgment, but that's the beauty of cognitive getting to neutrality. And that's where I feel that I've achieved a bit now. So I don't draw it in, but that inside is what you pull in from outside. So that's why you do the inside work so that you don't need to draw it in anymore. It's like birds of a feather fly together, all that energy just attracts to you. So if you release it, and that's what cognitive does, and it not only is that it releases it from the nervous system, from the memories, so you don't have to keep repeating it. And that's the beauty of it all.
Yeah, that's a hard concept, I think, for people just listening. And if you're not in the Cognomovement world, you think, what is she saying? Like, how is it that people criticized her because she was the inner critic, right? It's hard to understand. And I think it's hard for people to accept that it's themselves. Don't you think that's true for most people? My
Oh,
question would also be, how did you do it? How did you accept that it was you?
I just worked on myself. And every day I do a small little bit, maybe just a small affirmation, maybe a small cogno session, but I just keep working through it. That strength, that courage, so, and it's just mirroring on the outside now. So, things are changing, which I could never foreseen.
So talk about that a little bit. What's changed that you just could never have imagined would have changed?
Well, I was a people pleaser. And I was at the mercy of my family all the time, and I guess I worked through a lot of guilt because, my husband's in full-time care. I was having to visit him, and then I had, like I said, my daughter, then I had my father, and then I had my own life. And everyone, I was never say no, I would always say yes, and I was pulled from pillar to post, giving all my energy away. So then I started to pull back, and then things started to free me up. I will say I worked on freedom,
Yeah.
and my life has changed in ways that I would not have seen. Like I have more time now. And I feel more time so I can step in. I know the universe has got a bigger picture for me now. So, I'm here, got the time to help and be of service for other people now.
Yeah, which is amazing for the world. It's amazing. It's the difference between you being absolutely paralyzed and ran over by the overwhelm of the things that you had to deal with in your life, or the powerful healer that you are being available for those who need it. And also, since you've been through such weighty things in your life, the people that you help, you're not just saying words, you're coming at it with the full experience. You know that it is possible to overcome and feel better, even when life is not perfect. Your husband still needs full-time care, but you're able to handle it in a completely different manner. So you are available for everyone else. And this is the other thing I want to say. You're talking about you've got your dad and your kids and everybody else. When you're in a state of overwhelm, when you're in so much pain, you're really not that available to everybody else. We think we are, especially as moms, as women. We think we're superheroes. We think we're taking care of everyone. But when we're in bad shape, we're really not taking care of them very well at all. But when we're at our strength, when we're back to who we really are, then we really can help people. And we can help them in the way that you are by stepping back sometimes, by not overdoing. That's an interesting thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm living proof of it.
Yeah.
I am living proof of it, and I'm feeling excited about my life going forward, and I am ready for helping other people. And, I've seen quite a few different ones change, and it's beautiful to see how, people absolutely have that aha moment. Oh, I didn't realize that was playing out in my life, so, and you're just the facilitator, the client does the work. If they want to change, they will change. You can't make anyone do anything, but you're just there to guide them. And that's what the beauty of this work is about.
Yeah, and the difference in this work of Cognomovement too is that we really never go in as a practitioner to make someone better or ask them to believe that their life would be better. None of that. What we do is we let them feel exactly how they feel. Let their body tell the full truth about their problem. Let them dive in, let them wallow in it during the session, right? How did you feel about that when you first experienced it? Being able to really let your body fully tell the truth about a problem.
I think this is the only modality that I know that really acknowledges that you can allow yourself to feel the pain. Most of the other modalities cover it up to a large
Yeah.
degree. So I think, and I really, it's such a clever modality because it's got the colors of the chakras on the ball. It's also got symbolism, which is sacred geometry. So that all blends in with the magic of Isis. So, and then you're working the figure eight, which is the infinity sign, and whether you walk it or whether you use it with your ball, and then going from high to low through the chakras. So that's all the healing that we all need through every sign. And the chakras will tell you, where your life's out of balance.
It's true. It's true. For people who don't understand what a chakra is, there's Chinese medicine and Western medicine uses them, but really in function, they're the parts of the body where the biggest nerve centers are. They're the parts of the body where we have the biggest blood flow and the biggest center. And it's the part where we have the most feeling because there's the most nerve centers, in those areas. So we often see that a problem, you'll feel it, it's in your gut or it's in your heart or it's in your low belly or it's in your throat or it's in your head. And the reason is the nerves are there. That's where the signals are being sent, So I want to back up to something else that we were talking about just for a minute about diving in and really allowing yourself to feel the problem you have, letting your body, your mind, your spirit tell the truth about how hard that problem is. I was talking to one of our other practitioners recently about, they were saying that they didn't like it, that some of these horrifying problems that people have are sometimes spiritualized in self-help modalities, right? Think positively, go to a higher level. So all of these sorts of things. And I'm curious because you're involved in, other modalities and you have so much experience. How do you feel about that when a really big problem is sort of spiritualized, or if you're asked not to feel it, but to like maybe go beyond it?
I think a lot of people go into higher dimensions or other ways not to really deal with it.
Mm.
There's an awful lot of people. I mean, and Elizabeth Jennison was one of them who was really spiritual, but not really grounded. So, you don't manifest in the 3D reality when you're in a headspace of being spiritual. I mean, yeah, I believe in spirituality. I
Yeah.
believe there's a higher force that can help you, but we are in a 3D reality. We live in this world, and if we want to manifest, we have to be grounded. That's my view.
It is true. I mean, I live not that far from Mount Shasta, and it's an amazing place. And when we go there, we have some crazy experiences, and some of them very esoteric and spiritual. But it's not the place I go when I have a problem that I need to work through. That's where I grab my Cogno ball and I allow myself to fully feel that problem, have the sensation, let my body experience it, and then work a session to let my nervous system work that out. It's like, I feel like personally for me, even though I'm one of the creators of this, I feel like it lets me out of that terrible feeling jail. I feel bad, so I think bad. I think worse, and so I feel worse, and then I feel worse, and then it's really terrible, and I've got this cycle going round and round in my body that makes maybe a small problem much, much bigger. So Cognomovement, people who use Cognomovement, we don't have to do that anymore. We dig in, let ourselves feel it, and change our perspective around it. So the difference is, I think, for people maybe curious out there, like a spiritual experience, this high level spiritual experience, like let's say at Mount Shasta, you want to be in a state where you're open to actually have that full experience, have it be fun, have it be amazing. It is a high level feeling, but it really isn't the place to pull your problems into and try to resolve, because they're not a match. The two things are just not going to sort themselves out. You're going to muddy both with it. And I think that's what our other practitioner was talking about, is muddying the problem state, mixing in like a higher spiritual level to kind of dilute it. But eventually what happens is the problem comes back even greater. And I think a lot of people experience that.
It's like, you said about positive thinking. A
Yeah.
lot of people can think positively, but their issues are still at the unconscious level. So they haven't changed.
Yeah.
Unless you really are quite disciplined and feeling those affirmations every day, that then will change with time. And with the cognitive ball, you can map all that in. And it's all about, anything is about repetition, and you've just got to keep persevering and you will see the changes.
Yeah.
And I guess with the cognitive, it seems to fasten up those changes.
Yeah, it does happen faster. You brought up affirmations. So affirmations were one of my pet peeves. Like, they would just make me mad. Because I would, you say the affirmation, I'm feeling terrible. Let's say I'm feeling terrible, but I'm going to say an affirmation. I feel good and happy, but I feel terrible. I used to be so mad at Louise Hay, Louise Hay of Hay House
Yeah.
Radio. She had this process where you stood in the mirror and said, I love you. I love myself. Oh my God, that used to make me furious. And the reason is because when you say an affirmation and it's really not true in your life and you can't see a way for it to be true, the nervous system just kicks back. It just throws a tantrum about that. Like, no, that is not true. So my question always was, well, how do I get there? They're all saying I can get there, but how do I get there? So that was one of the big things for me in creating this modality, is creating a how. There needed to be a bridge between how I feel and where I want to go. And so with Cognomovement, we allow you to feel how you feel, work it through the nervous system. The nervous system gets stuck in a fight or flight pattern. It's a threat assessment, right? We have eye movements that signal the nervous system we're no longer in fight or flight. This issue, it just isn't the end of the world. And then when you feel better, now the affirmation makes all kinds of sense, right? I couldn't go the other way.
I think it is that what you're doing is you're embedding it into your nervous system to accept it more. And when you do a session and you acknowledge it, but you also embed it in the physical body.
Yeah. Yeah. It allows the physical body to believe it. It's really that feeling state in our body that informs the thoughts. An affirmation is a good idea. It's a thought. It's a nice sentiment. But if the body doesn't agree,
it'll reject it.
Yeah, you reject it. Now you're just creating irritation and frustration. And for me, That was my major preset anyway. So add an affirmation that wasn't true on top of it. Dang, that stunk. But now I can do affirmations and I actually love them because I can let my body hate that affirmation as much as I want to, work it through my nervous system. And then by the end, I'm like, oh yeah, that is true, that affirmation.
And then what happens? It mirrors on the outside.
Exactly. Then reality shifts. All right.
Yes.
We're up against our next break. So let's take a quick break and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we come back. So let's hear from the good folks at the UK Health Radio and we'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back and we're talking with Rita Stewart out of Australia, Cognomovement practitioner extraordinaire plus, past life regressionist and ISIS healer. And you said, Rita, that your big belief is that if you work on yourself, your life can change. Why do you feel like that's important for people to know?
Because it actually helps the planet as well. We're conscious beings, and if we raise our vibration, then the whole world shifts. I mean, we're in a pretty state of fear and anxiety. And, even if one person works on themselves, it shifts it. So you're helping the whole planet to move forward, to bring in much better energies.
Yeah, tell everybody about that. How does it work that if you just shift yourself, if you shift one person, that it can help change the planet? What's that about?
Well, I guess it's like a sliding scale. You start on a very slow, and as you raise your vibration, it could be even the Hopkins scale. You go through your anger and your guilt, and you release all these levels so that then you're not in that state. So you don't attract it in. And when you're working on yourself, you're working through all those emotions around the lower energies so that then when you get into a higher vibration, you're attracting more better things into your life. And that's what we all want, isn't it? We all want to feel happier. We all want to be in more joy. We all want pleasures of life rather than attracting in all the heavy stuff that happens in this world.
I think that if more people knew the kind of influence that their own personal energy has on all the people around them, people would be more eager to change. I always say, if we're living in a house with people, with families, we're in each other's neurological stew, a neurological soup. And it all kind of congeals together. And then we have our state. Some families on average they're all joyful, but some families, it's just a nonstop fight year after year after year. And some families, it feels very down and depressed. And, some families it's agitation. And you notice that like when you walk in the house, you can feel it, right?
Yes.
If even one human in that family changes their vibration, changes how they feel about themselves in the world, literally changes the resonance of their nervous system, it raises the vibration of everyone. And even when you're like a mom, like you, Rita, and you were taking care of all these people, you have a whole network of people, that all are familiar with your resonance, how you feel, and you're influential on them. When that resonance is now in a state of neutrality, calm, or all the way up even to joy, love, the only thing that can happen is they will be influenced by that too. It raises them, it raises everyone. So I would say, if you change one person on the planet, if you're able to do this for one person, you can change about 1,000 other people, because then those people in your family, let's say there's 25 total that you're influencing. Those people are different, and then they're going to influence another 25 and another 25. And it happens really fast. We really can change.
And I believe that's slowly happening on the planet. We are starting to see that unfold. Unfortunately, we're having to go through this chaos before you come out of the darkness into the dawn. So, and that happens in our own families.
Right.
much so, and I think, you talk about energy, like my daughter has this autistic son. If she's not in a good state, he mirrors it big time. And I
Hmm.
do, and because he's autistic, they have such an eye sense of sensory and awareness that they mirror everything. So, it's a classical one that shows you exactly what mirroring does.
It's true. We have one of our other practitioners, Colby Kaiser. She works with autistic older kids and adults. And this is the one of the things that she's discovered that she does amazing work with the autistic kids, but the parents are the ones that actually need the sessions around their emotions. And it's hard for them. They don't want to admit that they're have any effect on their child. But again, we're all in each other's neurological soup. And when you've got one person who's especially sensitive to other people, yeah, you've got to change it. So that's one of the struggles she has, is convincing parents of autistic children to do the work on themselves to help the child.
And that's where the cognitive work, if they're prepared to work on the parent, then
Yeah.
that changes the situation. And that's the same with me. I've I've done the work and it's mirrored on the outside with my family. So this is what can happen when you start doing the personal growth work.
Yeah, it really can. So we kind of glossed over it in the beginning, but you said you were taking care of your dad, and that was difficult for you because you're a world traveler, globetrotter. You like to do all kinds of things, and so having to stay there and have all the responsibility was difficult. So I was part of one of those sessions where we worked on that feeling of being stuck and having all that responsibility, and then something miraculous happened. Tell everybody just a little bit more about that. So they're clear. You were in this state, you were taking care of everything, and then all of a sudden your sister had an idea.
Yeah, it came out of the blue that my sister and my her husband moved back to Denmark in Western Australia. So that then meant that I didn't have to travel out from Albany once a week and pick him up and then bring him back. So, it's absolutely freed me up. So, I could not have seen that. I
That was an
could
impossible thing before, right?
Totally. So, and it's interesting when you put out an intention that you want to have more freedom, you don't know how that's going to turn up. But if you start doing the work, I've got freedom from that situation. I've got freedom more from my daughter's situation. She's looking at homeschooling her child. She's reached out and got more help. She's more independent now because I'm not there to be in her energy. And that's another thing that I found is that all this work is about really feeling. You can walk into a room, you walk into a room and you feel, oh, there's good energy here. When you walk into a room that's just had an argument, you can feel that energy. So when you sort of in this energy of flight and fight, which was happening with my daughter with autism, I'm not in that energy as much now. So when you're not in that energy, it frees you up for other stuff to unfold. And that's what's happening, and I don't have guilt around not seeing my husband every week and he's quite happy with where I'm at. He's very supportive of what I'm doing. So, lots of people would have guilt, would have issues. I've got to go there and I've got to save him. That's another thing that I had to go through. It's not my job to save anyone.
Yeah.
And that's another thing when especially I think more so when being a eldest child and you've been brought up with a lot of responsibility, you do think that your job is to help, be the pinnacle of the family. You've got to save everyone to some degree. And that's not the case. It's about saving yourself.
And it's that thing. where it is what it is. These are impossible situations. I cannot get out. There's no way to change, I'm sure that at some points that's how you felt about it, you know? And then you took it head on, used Cognomovement to get through. And how would you say your life is now? How would you say you feel about it looking back from now till when that you felt that way?
I remember, Bill, when I first started doing cognitive, being a practitioner, Bill said to me, "Your life will never be the same in a short amount of time, 6 months." And honestly, that's a true saying. I could not imagine where I'm at. I mean, when I worked with my husband all my married life, and we've been married nearly 49 years. I mean, he's been in hospital or, in a capacitated place for 11 years. But I had worked with him in business. And then I've had to relearn to be an individual.
Yeah.
And, we were dairy farmers, as I said. So you're producing a product. Then we went to farming people, I say, for a caravan park. So there's a product there, but then I'm the product now. And that's a big thing I've had to adjust to. I've had to let go of lack of confidence, a lack of self-worth, all those lower energies, which I've really overcoming. And that's only because of the cognitive work and the family of the cognitive practitioners that I've been able to move through all this. So I'm evidence that this stuff works.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. I mean, to see how much you've become more of who you really are than from when we met you. Because when we met you, you did have some real life things going on, and we could see the weight of it. And as we've seen you over this time, you've just become brighter, lighter, more vibrant. You look younger and more beautiful. It's been such a wonderful thing to watch. And I think it's a wonderful thing for us as practitioners to see the people that we help have themselves emerge who they really are when they're free of all of those pieces that you believed it was you, right? You believed it was yours, you believed it was impossible. But when that's gone, like this amazing human emerges. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to watch.
Thank you, Liz. That was lovely. Yeah, no, I can't believe what's going to come through now. I see many doorways opening for me. I see my life changing in good ways because
Yeah.
of the work that I've done with the all modalities of moving through.
Yeah. I want to ask you this. We're almost at the close, but how do you feel about Cognomovement as an and with the past life regression work and the ISIS healer? Do you feel like that they like one supports the other? You can use them together?
Oh, totally, totally. Yeah, I think, because of you're working with the ball through the chakras, you can take people into a bit of past life regression. You can do a bit of tapping. So, all that's all energy shifting, and it only needs one thing for the penny to drop so that people get the aha moment, and it can make such a big difference. The other thing is, feeling in the field, you know, either bringing stuff in or breaking stuff up. I feel with cognitive, it covers all areas, where some modalities just cover one specific area. And that's the thing. And the thing with the ball is, you don't even need to use language.
Yeah.
All will do shift you whether you realize it or not. And there's no other modality that can do that I know of anyway.
Yeah, that's a great one. If you have somebody that doesn't want to talk or can't talk and you can still work it out, I think that's a really good piece too. All right. Well, Rita, this has been so much fun chatting with you. I just adore you, and I don't get to see your face that often because you're all the way in Australia. I want everyone to know that you can reach out and work with Rita You can email her at Ross Stewart, so RossStewart at hotmail.com. And or you can come to cognomovement.com and go to our practitioner listing page, and Rita is listed there as well. And do you work with people in person and on Zoom?
Yes, I do. Thanks, Limps. Yeah, no, I have special days, so but please reach out, and we can see where we can go.
Yeah, I would encourage anyone who has heard Rita's voice and thinks she's the one for me to reach out. She's an amazing human, and I think she can really help you create some big change in your life. Thank you so much for being here, Rita.
Thank you, Liz. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah. To everyone else, till next time, be safe and be well. And once again, have an incredible, incredible new year. And consider this not what you'll do this year, but who will you become this year?